There she is.
Hello, Ann. Are you there?
We're gonna hear you, Anne.
Yeah, well, such is life.
Yeah.
Ann, are you there? I see her, but I don't know that she can hear us. So,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
There you are.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Um, Ann, can you share your slides and just go ahead? She can't hear us, so I'll just say share your slides and
I can't hear anybody on my phone or my laptop. Okay, so let me
I'm texting her.
Sometimes you have to join and accept the audio version.
All right, hi everyone. This is really strange. Dale, are you going to show my slides and then I'll speak to them?
Okay, Ann. I'm
So there, Anne can make a presentation then?
Um, do you see the slides on the screen, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they in presentation mode or
Not yet.
Yeah, you put it in presentation mode and it'll be full screen.
yeah. I think I'm going to try to just wing it with her slides, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so just a little bit of background on this, and I think you've heard from me before, distinguished commissioners and Director McCarthy, on the Haywired. We ran into some problems with Volume 3 because of some editors that had retired. I think you understand that USGS really requires a lot of editing on our materials, and these scenarios cover a lot of ground from geophysics to the engineering aspects of an earthquake, as well as the social and economic impact. So it requires a specialized editor in this, and we didn't have any for a long time, and so this has taken a long time to complete. We're sorry about that. You know a little bit about what we've talked about previously because I've uh, talked about volume 1 and 2, which was the geophysics and the physical damages that would be associated with this. And then I was with Deputy Fire Chief Larry Collins the last time that he presented on fire following earthquake. And just to let you know that we're still working with that aspect of the scenario and working very closely with the water purveyors, particularly East Bay Mud and San Jose Water Company. We worked with EPA to address seismic vulnerabilities and water systems in the West. And that seems to be a particular choke point as it relates to particularly fire following earthquake and water systems that may not be there after an earthquake. And this aspect of the scenario, like I said, involves the economic and the social impacts. I'm going to go through this not nearly as well as the job that Ann Wine would have done. But as you know, the Haywired scenario is called Haywired because we're dealing with the Hayward Fault in the East Bay of California. And we call it wired because there hasn't been a major earthquake in an urban environment during the time of the World Wide Web, if we still call it that. And so we wanted to make sure that we had addressed the issue of telecommunications and the economic impacts that may befall Silicon Valley. I'm going to try to move ahead. Okay, I just talked about the wired world here. I'm going to head a little bit further into this. Hayward Volume 3, that will include Earthquake Early Warning. This was written by Jen Strauss, UC Berkeley. You may know her. Telecommunications by David Witkowski from Joint Venture Silicon Valley. Lifeline Infrastructure Systems, Jamie Jones. Communities at Risk, Lori Johnson. And the Economic Impacts and Resilience, Cynthia Kroll, Stephen Levy, John Haberman, Dina Belzer, Adam Rose, Dan Y, and Ian Soo Wing. And the rollout of Volume 3 will come, I believe, in 2021. We addressed the earthquake early warning aspects of this because, you know, here is the Bay Area. One of the most urbanized faults in the United States is the Hayward Fault, and a lot of people would not get early warning, but some people would, and so we wanted to address what you could do with that, and that includes things like holding elevators at floors, because people would be trapped in elevators, particularly at the time of the scenario earthquake, which would be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then also we could slow BART trains, etc. And I think BART is already working to implement this. And then there's also hospital response to protect patients, equipment, and staffing, those sorts of things. Earthquake early warning also would be helpful for the aftershocks. In this situation, we have, I think, 30 aftershocks from this earthquake, magnitude 5 or greater, with the largest being a 6.4 that would have jumped fault over to the San Andreas Fault and would have been under the Silicon Valley. And also telecommunications. There's a lot of unanchored equipment, older buildings, and has a lot of cellular sites on top of their buildings. And this would really compromise telecommunications in the Bay Area. So we're looked in detail as it related to that. And also, you know, so here's the functionality curve as it relates to voice and data outages. They do tend to come back rather quickly. And we're right now still working with the various counties having workshops related to this. And we'll have more details in Volume 3 when it does come out. I'm going to move ahead here. I did talk about the engagement a little bit. And then also the lifeline infrastructure systems. You know, there's a lot of lifelines in the Bay Area that are going to be compromised. The main one in this case is water, and that's because the East Bay's water systems are particularly old, and it includes a lot of different kinds of pipe that are not going to fare well in the earthquake, and this includes asbestos cement and also cast iron pipe. This is changing how East Bay Mud is going to be, you know, changing how they replace pipes in the bay. Originally, it was all based on the age of the pipe, but a pipe type is also going to inform how they're going to do this, and they're also going to be thinking about fire following earthquake as it relates to their pipe replacement. I'm not going to go too much in depth on all of these. Just to let you know that this is going to be coming out, and this is really what's going to be in it. And one of the aspects of this that we really wanted to focus on, and this was before a lot of people were talking about the issues of equity. We called it communities at risk at the time. And, you know, as you are aware, it tends to be those that are most affected by earthquakes are probably the you know how much damage would occur to them as it relates to their social and economic well-being and their ability to stay in their community. So this is the issue of population displacement. We estimated that 400,000 people would be displaced in this earthquake, or this simulated earthquake. And I'm not going to get too much into the data here, because I don't know it all that well, and I'll let Ann do that at some other point. But recovery is a major challenge for these communities, and it's one that we really need to focus on. And then also in this, there's going to be some great detail on the economic impacts. Most of the region will fully recover within 5 years. That's good news, but it's going to be a struggle after a major earthquake. Going to get into that. Economic losses, substantial, similar to a recession in the Bay Area. But this doesn't extend outside of the Bay Area that far, so that's also good news. Here's some of the awards that Anne has gotten as it relates to working on these impacts. Anne has I just want you to know, Anne Wine has been on every one of the scenarios starting from a shakeout. She has done the economic impacts. And when we're doing these scenarios, we start with the geophysics and then go into the physical damages associated with the earthquake, or in the case of California, major floods, as we did in the arc storm scenario, which, by the way, we are redoing. I know this is a Seismic Safety Commission. You don't really need to hear about that, but we do work on that, and arc storm is being calculated, working with a whole new team, and that is expected to be released hopefully in another year and a half. And then also Anne has worked on the tsunami scenario that we did, which is in use today. All of these scenarios have very long tails, and we're still working on every one of these scenarios, so they haven't gone away. We intend to roll out Volume 3 this year, hopefully, and we're hoping that we can do it in time for the Great Shakeout in October. We also have a toolkit. I'm in communications with the Economic Development Group called CalEd. They have taken over the Outsmart Disaster campaign that was spawned from the Hayward scenario, and that would probably include the toolkit that we're working on to give smaller businesses that don't have business continuity operations or practitioners within their organizations take some steps to improve their vulnerability to an earthquake. That's about it. I'm sorry that I gave you such a rough overview of this. Anne would have done a much better job, but that's all you're going to get from me. Thank you. And to entertain any questions.
Thanks so much, Dale. Actually, what you guys doing is a really critical one, and showing what is the actual disaster look like, after the fact, for the impact lifeline to economic impact, and how many years to actually get back to it. Now you're talking about 5 years, right?
Yes,
that's a long time.
Yeah, and, it is a long time, but comparatively to, let's say, a major flood, that's not that long of time. It's a very regional disaster.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Anne. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Anne.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm so sorry, everyone. I don't know why I can't hear you on my laptop, but I realized I could call in. So,
don't worry, Anne. Thanks so much coming through there. I know you was, what is it, like a 2 a.m., 3 a.m., something like that in New Zealand, right?
Oh, yeah, it's 4 a.m. But I just want to say that economic recovery time is optimistic in the sense of we're only talking about the macro economy. As far as what's going on the ground, we would expect at least 10 years. And there was a couple of slides there that were showing the macro view and then the micro view, where there's a lot more pain on the ground with the businesses and everything that's going on in areas with a lot of concentrated damage, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, but also I see in the past is how actually private investment can be activated into the, after disaster. That makes a huge difference. Governments, we have a certain roles to it, but we can do so much. I think the activation of make it easy for investment back to the after disaster things is such a critical component. So I think that's why working with the small businesses, as you guys talking about, is I think it's a great idea. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? I do have a question though. So, Ann and Dale, is this it's a still draft format, right? So it's not published yet. You're talking about this coming fall, correct?
No, this is all just about all published now. We just have one more chapter that's with the editors, and
Okay.
then we will write a overview chapter of volume 3, and then everything will be done. So there's 2 volumes already completely done, one for hazards, one for engineering implications, and then the third one, societal consequences, is mostly out on the website.
Yeah, I think this volume 3 is a really critical one. So as soon as you complete this, if you can send us the copy, I think that'd be fantastic. I think we can talk about a lot about this one.
And did I just wanted to ask one more question. And did I get, so I was off on the economics, talking about the macro version of it. Anything else that you needed to touch upon?
Yeah, I was trying to, I think you did an amazing job presented with these slides and not really seeing them before. I think should we leave the presentation can be left with the commissioners, right? If it's not distributed, and then they can read the details.
I think that'd be fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
If you can do that, because
Thank
Dale,
you,
you went
too
through
kind to me.
really quickly.
I'll just put I'll put a watermark on it and make a PDF.
Yes, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Okay, any questions or comments from commissioners or Dick?
No, just find that I think it's a fantastic accomplishment.
Right.
It's taken a long time, and it's very timely for us to make decisions on now, and especially the social implications and the economic losses are pretty staggering. And I think that's especially the loss of the internet. I don't hear much discussion on that, and we're all telecommuting right now, so I mean the losses of the internet even be more important, because 75% of the state workforce is telecommuting as an example. So if it goes down, there's going to be a major impact. So I thank Dale and Ann for this. I know it's been a long journey for you guys, and I know how tough it is to coordinate something like this. So thank you very, very much for what you guys have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Director McCarthy.
Thank you. Do you have a moment for me to comment on your comment, Dick?
Please.
Yeah, so I don't want to give the impression that the internet will go down. It's more the consequence of that these days everything is converged onto one network, so data and voice. So it's very difficult to pull it all apart. But what we're showing is that there's 2 really big problems. One is power outages, like we have with the public safety power shutdowns. And the second part is the use of the systems and the congestion and we see this time and time again after earthquakes. And so that's what we attempt in our modeling. That's what again came through. Those were actually bigger problems than perhaps even damage to the infrastructure directly, which of course is also happening. And then we also sort of modeled the effects of having backup power available in the system, and the time for trucks to come in to bring fuel and other types of portable equipment, cars and colts. And we took all our data from other events. So, for example, those times for trucks to come in were informed by Hurricane Sandy. So it's a very difficult problem that we consulted a lot with the industry on. We really relied on available literature and reports from previous earthquakes to try to tell a story.
Very well, Ann. Thanks so much. And I know you got to go maybe sleep now, or you're going to keep waking. Well, thanks so much in such an early hours or late hours from New Zealand. Okay,
Thanks for
so
having
next, yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. So next on the agenda is the Earthquake and the Fire Following Earthquake Resiliency at Mid-Rise Cold Form Steel Buildings by Tara Hutchinson from UC San Diego. Tara, are you in the call?
Yeah, Chairman Miyamoto, she has, she should be jumping on here shortly. So if Lori is available to do her presentation right now, that would be helpful.
Okay, so Lori, are you on the call?
I'm here, ready to go.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Okay, so she's from Cal OES, and she's going to update on early earthquake warning programs. Lori.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So actually, that last presentation was a wonderful segue into our update on the Earthquake Warning California campaign and the MyShake app. So let's get started. You had in November a full-on update on the Earthquake Warning California program. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of repetition of that and then give you some news that's happened since then. So just for those that are new to Earthquake Warning California, it is, we're focusing our outreach campaign on the MyShake app, which has been developed in conjunction with UC Berkeley. And it is an app that provides audio and visual warnings once an earthquake is detected and sent to those mobile devices to give folks seconds or tens of seconds, depending upon how far they are from the epicenter of the quake, so before the shaking occurs. And the app can be downloaded for free via Google Play or the Apple App Store. And then since we last spoke to you, we have the Shake Alert LA app, which was in 2018 was launched, was closed or retired, as they say, by the city of LA in December of 2020. And before they retired that, they did encourage through press release and various social media posts for folks to download the statewide MyShake app. So the app must always be set to on to allow the app to provide warnings. And then push notifications are sent to the user's phone or their mobile device as needed. And it's not, we keep telling folks, you understand this, it's not an earthquake predictor. It signals when those sensors pick up on shaking, and that the first primary weaker waves, then we're able to measure the distance, so to speak, between those waves and the stronger secondary waves. And the further a person is from the epicenter, the more warning that they can get. We are continuously refining and upgrading both the sensors and the MyShake app itself. So I would like to talk a little bit about that MyShake app. This screenshot that you have is old. It only shows 1 million users have downloaded it, but we actually are at 1.3 and counting. We have been working on updating the safety pages on the app, as you can see here, both to make them, give consideration to those with access and functional needs, also to give individuals the most preparatory information that they can have so that they can actually be prepared for when they receive one of the alerts. And we mentioned last November in our update to you that beginning August 2020, Android phones now had a built-in earthquake warning technology. This capacity is being built into all of their new phones and operating system updates. So warnings are sent out to Android phones in California, regardless of whether or not they've downloaded an app or not. Of course, they can choose to opt out. We, in our education and outreach campaign, always encourage folks not to do so. And then the third modality that, of course, is the wireless emergency alerts. And those are geographically targeted text messages to warn of imminent threats. Those have a higher alerting threshold. I think I have a screen where we'll talk a little bit about alerting thresholds. And those are automated. They are, even though WIAs can be manually sent, these are automated. Again, as with the Android warnings, they must opt in on their mobile device. When they receive a new phone, it's automatically opted in, so they actually have to take a step to opt out. It's not like they have to take a proactive step to opt in. So these are the alerting thresholds that I was mentioning. The wireless emergency alerts are set at magnitude 5.0. And then the MyShake app and the Android alerts are both set to a magnitude 4.5. So we just want to encourage this group in all of your communications with your various stakeholders to encourage everyone to download the MyShake app, to adjust their phone settings, to make sure that if they have Android phones, that they are not disabling those alerts. If you seek more information, we do have some fact sheets. We have various pieces of information at earthquake.ca.gov, and we always put out the latest information there. So again, we're asking you, spread the word, sign up to receive our partner toolkits and materials to share. We have lots of social media, PSAs, and various other materials that you can share widely. So with that, I will be open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Lori. This is such a critical component of the early warning, system, and to be able to use by anyone now, which is actually a great advancement. And since I just activated myself, I do live in Topanga, down in LA, so it's definitely a critical place to have one. Okay, any comments or questions? Selena, please.
Hi, Lori. Quick question. So is there like, who would I contact? Do you guys have like a button that we could put on our website that users can click on and go to that page? Is there something like that that's developed or anything like that?
Thank you for that question, Selena. And that is something that we have been looking at and working on developing. I don't know that that's ready for production yet. Emily, I have Emily Holland here, one of our research data specialists on the Earthquake Early Warning Education and Outreach project, to see if we have a status on that.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know if Emily can unmute herself.
I can, and I think Lori has said we do not have a full status update on that, but we'll make sure to keep the commission informed as things develop.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, as soon as we get one, we will push that out through the Seismic Safety Commission and hopefully get lots of people to put that on their website.
Very good, thank you. Very good comments, Selena. Any other questions or comments from anyone here?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Lori, for the presentation. Last month, in the annual meeting of the Seismological Society of America, one high school junior student made a presentation about the device that she came up. This is a small local seismometer and also can be used as an earthquake early warning. So are you aware of this? Any potential for this to be developed in the future?
Well, so that is actually the technology that the Android alerts use. And they essentially crowdsource by using the seismometer, sorry, I'm pronouncing that wrong, feature within the device itself. So I'm not sure if in this instance it's the same sort of technology, or if it's like a homegrown project. I know that we have various groups out there that do, like the Stanford Hackathon and others that do these like graduate student projects, and that can potentially turn into a patent and a technology that's released publicly. So not knowing exactly what this student did, no, I have not heard about this particular instance. I don't think I can really speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Very well. Thanks so much, Lori. I think this is a very, very important step forward. Okay, Tara is back yet? Tanya?
No, I haven't seen her log on just yet. I know she had a class going up until like right when she was about to present. So we could go through the miscellaneous announcements if we want to start that now.
Sounds good. We'll keep doing that. All right, let's do that.
Tanya, why don't you give your budget presentation?
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the January 14th commission meeting, you were given a high-level overview of our budget as we finalized transitioning over to Cal OES. We continue to meet with our personal liaison monthly in order to reconcile our expenses and ongoing account balances. Our budget balance when we transferred over to Cal OES was at $2,518,000, which made up of 4 funding sources. Included in the balance was a one-time general fund distribution of $503,000 to cover the administrative and operating expenses accrued during the transition. To help you understand where we are in this process, I'd like to provide you an overview of all the accounts, their balances as of February 28, 2021. For today and future reports, there will be a 2-month lag in the account balances. The process for providing these reports is a collaboration of multiple divisions within Cal OES in order to process and audit our SEC monthly expenses for accuracy. Right now, we have our 4 accounts set up that mirror how we had them set up when we were with DGS. Our first account is the general fund. As I mentioned earlier, we were provided a one-time allotment upon transferring, but for fiscal year 21-22, SSC is budgeted to receive $315,000 to our general fund account. Keep in mind, the governors may revise this week, and I'll be providing more real-time figures at the July meeting. At the end of 2021, the remaining balance for this account is $451,789.03. The second account is our special deposit fund. Most of you are familiar with this account as called the California Research and Assistance Fund, or CRAF. In August of 2007, SSC was awarded a one-time allotment of funds in the form of a gift. These funds are used for research and educational projects. The current balance of this account is $2,799,326.49. On an annual basis, our budget authority for this account is $700,000 to complete any new or existing projects. To date, we have only paid out of this account for the translation of the Spanish Homeowners Guide, totaling $9,909.62. The third account is the money received from the insurance fund. Primarily, our funding for the SSC comes from the California Department of Insurance, or CDI, establishing a special account within the insurance fund for us. CDI calculates the assessment annually every August 1st for all commercial and residential earned property exposures reported during the previous calendar year. The actual collection, administrative cost, and the maintenance of an adequate reserve for CDI will not exceed 15 cents per earned property exposure. Year to date, a fund condition statement was released for fiscal year 2021, where SSC earned a revenue of $1,534,306 in addition, to a beginning fund balance of $188,000, putting SSC's total resources at $1,722,321. The estimated expenditures of the SSC in fiscal year 2021, including the cost of fund distributions, is $1,347,000. By calculating the difference between the two total resources and expenditures, the reserve balance is $375,321. For this upcoming fiscal year 21-22, we are projected to earn slightly more from annual assessments at about $1,549,000. Lastly, is our reimbursement account. This account was established in 2008 pursuant to AB 361, approved by the governor, contracting SSC with the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC. This was creating an independent disaster council for purposes of planning activities related to assessments of the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant site related to seismic safety. The independent peer review panel comprises the following: SSC, Energy Commission, the California Geological Survey of the Department of Conservation, the California Coastal Commission, Cal-OES, and the County of San Luis Obispo. In order to pay SSC staff for their work, we set aside part of our operating budget for processing these reimbursements. Historically, we have encumbered $15,000 for processing reimbursements. Over the last couple years, staff has not had to produce work, but this account will be available if need to complete any future reviews. This is the end of my update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Tanya. Very, very detailed reports. Anyone had any questions or comments? How about you, Tim? You look very official today.
My background.
Work. I want to go back first, so I'm not multitasking.
Also, I did see that Tara is on the call now, so if we want to go ahead and proceed with that presentation.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess there's no comments or questions, do you? Well, you do such a nice job, Tanya, so no one else got questions. All right.
Thank you.
So Tara, we're waiting for you for a while now. You're on. That's great. So she's from UC San Diego, and she's going to talk about the testing of the multi-story steel form construction.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just make a few comments on what you're saying. So this project that Dr. Hudson is going to present to you is a proposal to you to participate in this shake-takeable experiment. It meets the criteria that you usually set down for your research fund, is partnerships and the ability to leverage money and to bring in other partners. And I have to tell you, hopefully with the participation of the Seismic Safety Commission in this project, it'll maybe bring in some more projects, more partners to this project. And I'm very honored to have worked with the Shake Table for the previous two projects and have learned so much. And I'm thankful for our fire team members who have also worked with Dr. Hudson on this to help her with her fire component of this experiment. So please, I'm asking for your support, quite frankly, on this project so we can get it going when it's ready. And I think you're going to be pretty impressed with what she's proposing to you today. So, Tara, please.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Dick and Kit. Apologize, I was not on the call earlier. I have back-to-back lectures, so I had not intended to log in until this time. But I'm very pleased to be here. I want to, mention my thanks to Dick and Kit, as I mentioned, but as well to other commissioners that have reached out and have had the opportunity to exchange ideas on this thus far. Today, as mentioned, I'd like to present to the Commission a proposal to investigate the earthquake and fire following earthquake resiliency of mid-rise cold-form steel buildings. This is a collaborative proposal, as is often, to undertake a large endeavor. A number of folks have been involved, including myself, Professor Richard Emberley of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and Dr. Brian Meacham, who we've had the pleasure to work with in the past, has also joined us in the cohort in this activity. So in this presentation, I thought it's important we start with why cold-formed steel, answering that question to articulate and set the tone. Then we can I'll follow with sharing with you the center place or center figure of this proposal, which is a coined CFS NERI project. And in fact, what we're focusing on that project is the importance of architectural finishes and what we refer to as non-designated systems. And then finally, I'll try to offer a succinct preview of what our proposal is to the Commission, a breakdown in the tasks, the resource request and timeline, and how we're leveraging from the resources from the centerpiece of this effort, that is the already ongoing CFS NERI work. So let's start with why light gauge cold form steel. First of all, we have to think about how is CFS made. It's made by rolling or pressing sheet steel through dies, so at low heat. So we refer to it colloquially as cold formed or cold forged, you'll see in the literature. Now, due to this and other reasons, CFS has many alluring benefits. In fact, it's thin, it's rapidly produced in large quantities, and because of this, we're left with a consistent quality that is at high precision. There are a number of other, you might say, well, it's a lightweight material. How does it compare with other lightweight materials? Well, amongst its perhaps competitor, I would say, it has the highest strength to weight ratio. In fact, by some statistics, about 25 times greater than wood. That is leading to an increased prevalence in its use in seismic zones. It's also moved towards a quite readily fabricated material and components that are quite easy to fabricate. That leads us to the issue of erection, and I'll talk about that next. We're getting to the phase where CFS has become almost readily transmitted as a prefabricated system onto building sites. Notwithstanding other benefits, it's durable, has a moisture and mold resistance well above other lightweight materials. And I highlight here the benefit of its recyclable nature, which we'll talk about in a moment. Finally, it's non-combustible. It will not burn or contribute to the spread or intensity of fire. So that's led actually, SFIA has done a number of studies and looked at one side benefit is that insurance offers builders significantly lower premiums if they build with CFS. And recent major fires, as you know, to wood frame structures have been extensive. So again, another alluring feature. So let's expand on a few of the really important features. With CFS now moving towards a use as a prefabricated material, that means that straight, stable, dimensionally accurate subsystems like walls and floors of very uniform quality can be readily erected at a site, and in a very simple fashion, requiring reduced skilled labor, minimal tools on site, yet at the same time, still retaining a high quality constructed final building structure. It's also, we should say, a dry system. So builders don't need a substantial amount of use of water for mixing cement and the like. This last bullet is particularly important, of course, I think, to all of us at heart. It's a green material solution. Because material is prefabricated generally in a facility, and if it's not, even if it's brought onto the site, it's generally cut to length before it's brought to site. So that leads to reduced waste, accurate design and manufacture. By some statistics, less than 1% waste from frame and truss manufacture of CFS has been documented. We all know that steel is 100% recyclable. Actually, the steel industry is amongst the highest rate of recycling industry in the world, recycling 66% of its materials. And I found this very nice statistic. It takes 25 old growth trees to build a 2,500 square foot home, compared with 7 recycled automobiles for the same home with steel framing. So clearly, many buildings that have achieved LEED certifications of various levels have been founded in steel framing. Traditional methods, I should mention, builders usually factor up to account for every 20% of an additional 20% material waste in their total project. So another way to think about that might be, for every one building I build, I'm constructing 5, right? So indeed, the rapid construction potential of CFS frame structures is impressive. As you can see in the pair of images here highlighted on the left, the real drop-in success of CFS walls. You see a gravity wall on the left just being dropped into place. It's been prefabricated in the shop, brought out on a truck. It's also lightweight, so low emissions, even bringing it out. Either that or potentially a shear wall can be dropped into place. You can see a sheathed wall on the right of these images of a construction going on in Columbus, Ohio. We learned this actually during a prior partnership with the commission. We undertook at the facility the construction of a 6-story cold form steel building. I believe in our last meeting I showed you just a hint of this. And during this program, both the walls and the floors were prefabricated just north of us, a few hours north of us off-site, resulting in a mid-rise building erected in just 9 days. And here you can see in this video, hopefully it's running smoothly for you. In this video, you can see the first floor of this building erected with stick framing. You can see the laborers running in and out of the scene as we're speeding up the construction, obviously. That first floor took about 3 days, and we did that particularly to address the fact that we were attaching to the table and the method of foundation construction. Now you'll see very rapidly the next 5 floors constructed, five floors, including walls and floor systems, dropped into place in just 4 days. And so you can see each and every panel being dropped in, brought in on a truck to the left, crane operator moving it into place, 1 or 2 laborers at each floor level, adjusting it, bracing it, strapping it, and placing it. So quite rapid construction. So let me tell you about CFS NERI. This is a project involving a team of researchers from UC San Diego, Johns Hopkins University, and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The core funding for the research team is already provided and available through the National Science Foundation, through a grant with their engineering program, while support to utilize the UC San Diego outdoor shake table is provided through the operations and maintenance grant of the NERI, of its NERI program. This allows the shake table to serve as a national shared use facility for the community. Partnership with the American Iron and Steel Institute, the Steel Framing Industry Association offers us as well an umbrella to the window of a number of design engineers and material suppliers, which are, I would need lots of room to mention their collaboration already committed to the project. In totality, the materials, fabrication, erection, the operations of the shake table, the already secured National Science Foundation research grant, as well as some support from the Steel Decking Institute, brings to bear an endeavor totaling almost $3 million for this collaborative project that is already ongoing. So distinctly different from prior CFS building system programs, I should mention there have actually only been 2 system level seismic programs in the US. One was our 6-story program, which I showed you the video of the erection of a moment ago. And another was a 2-story program conducted at sunny Buffalo on the East Coast. This particular culminating building test program is envisioned to exercise a 10-story test building, so that differentiates it clearly. We are pushing the envelope in terms of elevation, but importantly, we are also looking at the impact of architectural finishes and what we refer to as non-designated systems. Non-designated systems are the elements that offer no intended lateral seismic resistance to a system, and potentially no intended consequences to the lateral resistance offered by other elements in the system. These are things like gravity walls, which may have perforations for windows or holes. So we don't have a good handle on how to address them from a design perspective for this lightweight building system. So we need these types of tests to understand how loads transfer across the gravity wall and how the kinematics of a gravity wall affects that of a shear wall. So importantly, if you think about architectural finishes and these gravity walls or shear walls with openings, repair actions and fire following earthquake impacts are going to be dramatically more significant in the presence of these issues which are planned for this new 10-story building. So hence my discussion with Dick to think about an opportunity to partner with the Commission. We're imagining this 10-story building looking much like what you see in the diagram here. This is an elevation view of the 6-story CFS HUD structure, which was constructed in 2005 and tested in 2016, moving from fabrication in the shop on the West Coast, being placed and erected on site using prefabricated strategies. And ultimately, we're hoping with the partnership of the Commission, tested under live thermal conditions. Let me just make a mention of the exterior systems of interest we've polled industry, and 2 particular exterior finishes are commonly used for these buildings. You could lump them into the category of cementitious systems, such as you see here. The acronym for this is EFIS. It's basically a stucco-based system with an underlaying insulation, offering the appropriate environmental and acoustical protection for the structural system. The alternative to that is a metal-clad panel system. We find, though, that the EFIS system or EFIS-like system is much more common, so we have already garnered a partnership with a manufacturer that will provide us an EFIS finish for this building. So clearly EFIS or metal panels are energy efficient, but they have this significant drawback here. That is that they have an underlying combustible foam insulation. And so we know that can lead to rapid fire spread. And with this aspect, that is not yet incorporated in this test program. So our proposal to the Commission is a request to expand the present CFS NERI effort with 3 particular tasks. The first, and I'll just talk about the first 2. I think that the third I could just describe, but I have some logic and thought towards where we would go with the first 2. The first is to perform the seismic tests, then repair and retest the structure. The second is to conduct fire following earthquake tests, or in other words, live fire scenarios. We're proposing this across a 3-year duration. The planning of the tests would need to be undertaken in the first year, and we're at a fortunate time aspect here, having the opportunity to present to you today, and where we are with regard to actually commencing these tests, which would be in late fall of 2022 is when we are planning to begin construction. of this specimen. So that would take us into the second year where we would actually execute task 1 and 2. And then the third task is really just a preparation of a summary report. It does involve clearly data post-processing, analysis, and reporting. And importantly, we'd like to prepare sort of a lay audience distilled report that the commission can demonstrate or disseminate to articulate the societal impact of this work. We've made a first order approximation of the budget needs and considered the indirect costs through the university commission program, and that comes to just over $400,000. If we look at that, actually, fortunately, that's about an 8-to-1 return on investment for the commission. So I want to highlight that, obviously. Let me address each of these tasks very briefly. So the first task, seismic test and repair and retest. Why would we propose this? Well, from my perspective, the test building is available. We have a very unique opportunity to expand and extend our duration of the test. It's there. We can work with contractors and insurers to implement repair strategies, actually cost them, and then retest the building and see how well they performed. And another very important reason to consider to try to do this is that the finishes may actually drive the cost of repair actions. We know that the damage modalities and these types of structural systems will drive the response. As you can see a few of them here, you see pull through of screws at the structural connections. You see tilting and bearing of those screws. You see pull out and tearing of the steel sheet. That's going to drive the response. But what's not shown in these images are the finishes. These are component tests on walls. What's not shown are the finishes, and that may drive the cost of the repair and ultimately the time to return to service of the facility. So we have an important opportunity here. There are what we refer to as fragility functions, which help offer guidance towards this assessment of return to functionality. But that data that's available now, produced through the FEMA P58, largely through the FEMA P58 project, is based on a very limited sample size, on components only, and most importantly, it's based on this idea that we would need to conduct a near full replacement of components. I would completely remove the wall, in other words, rather than looking at lower level, minor to moderate damage states and more succinctly assessing their repair actions and cost actions in terms of the process of assessing the vulnerability of a structure. So the data that we could generate by expanding this project could be invaluable, I think, to engineering practice. So then the live fire tests. Why the live fire tests? Well, to date, there's very limited knowledge of fire following earthquake performance of buildings. I think we have been fortunate and partnered actually with the commission on 2 of these, and some of your colleagues have come down and witnessed these and helped us, guided us with input on the program. We really appreciate that. We're well equipped to be able to perform that. Importantly, there's a high likelihood of fire following earthquake, damage to fire protection systems, weakened structure, etc. There are also numerous sources of ignition, as we know: electrical shortage, gas rupture, damage to gas shutoff valves, and the like. And for this type of system with finishes, the consequences could be high. There could be, of course, further fire, smoke, and temperature spread, further strength loss of the structural components, inevident due to the tearing away of the protective layers on the structure. There could also be hidden consequences because the building state is unknown. So what are last slide? What are our methods that we're proposing for this task? Actually, I have a cute little video here as well to show you what we did in the BNCS project. You can see a student igniting with heptane fuel, a controlled burn scenario outside one floor of this building in order to understand the temperature and flame and smoke spread through the elevator, through the now damaged elevator shaft. And within this compartment, you can see just in the left of this video, a thermocouple, which is measuring the temperature gradient from the ground to the ceiling. And importantly, the ceiling is clad with fire-rated gypsum. And so we can understand if that spread of temperature actually is protected into the profile of the ceiling and ultimately onto the structural elements of the ceiling. So we're proposing for this program to conduct 9 live fire experiments, 3 on the lower floor, 3 on the mid floor, and 3 on the upper floors. And we would likely commence our testing with the upper floors and march our way down the structure. So as we began this discussion with the benefits of cold form steel discussion, I wanted to end the discussion and just allow this to run by emphasizing the benefits of CFS deconstruction. This is a video of the de-erection of one of the motivators of this project, the CFS HUD project, where you can see that individual walls and floors are succinctly being removed by a very skeletal crew of workers. And thanks to the prefabrication of these walls and floors, this required only 3 days to undertake and remove this specimen from our test facility. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. We really appreciate the consideration of the Commission and all of their input thus far and their collaboration in past projects, and be very happy to have some discussion and answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tara. I do feel this is probably one of the most important research projects in California today. The reason is not only the CFS is, obviously these non-combustible components for the fire hazard. That's just such a important and less carbon, footprint you're talking about. And also the wood recently price went up almost 100%. So we start seeing that there's a huge public demand from options, but yet this industry is not widely spread in California. And it's such a great option for the engineers. And one thing, Tara, what you do is great about is that your research is directly can be used in the practice engineers like myself. I think that's such a critical. So it's not just this research for the sake of research, but this is actually something that the practicing engineers can use right now. I think that's such a critical part of this project. So said that. Dick, are we talking about action here or just information only at this time?
Oh, so we're talking, Mr. Chair, we're talking about actions. Let me just quickly tell you the sequencing here.
Okay.
The scope of the project has been presented to you with a cost factor. Should you decide to support her application here, we would then work with the contracts office within Cal OES and at UC San Diego to come up with the contract that we would basically then bring back to you for your final approval. So that's why I'm asking for authorization to proceed moving into a contract with UC on this project, and then work with start working with to develop a contract that would then hopefully be ready to go by the time that she requests our financial assistance. She needs our financial assistance. So we're far enough out to where we can meet this timeline. Sometimes taking contracts with the state takes a little bit of a time, okay? And you're dealing with also UC's contract system as well. So that's why we're doing this so far in advance, Mr. Chairman.
I understand. So Dick, are we looking for motion?
Yes. Yes, I need a motion.
We have Chairman. Chairman, you have some hands raised for questions. You have
yes.
Strack and Commissioner Rabbit, I believe.
Yes. Okay. I can't see from my screen. So yeah. Please. Who's in the question now? Oh, Tara, maybe what you can do is you can share the screen quickly. That'd be great, so I can see.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry about that.
So we have Commissioner Rabbit, Commissioner Swice, Commissioner Gardner, Commissioner Maravelli, and Commissioner Strack.
Okay, very well. So let's see. Tanya, so you can see the screen. If you can just keep going for the question and comments.
Okay. Okay. We can start with Commissioner Rabbit.
No, I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. I am totally supportive going forward, and it relates to the work that we're trying to do in our own county and really throughout the Bay Area to provide additional housing density. We're at the outlying areas, even with the high rents and high property values, the cost of construction has, as the chairman had said, is in wood especially is exponential. Then to go to a concrete podium and everything else changes the dynamics again, and it puts, again, if your rents aren't as high as perhaps San Francisco, we are struggling to get housing built. We've lost population after our fires, and we're investing $20 million in a housing fund to kickstart. And I don't know what the limitations of cold rolled steel. I should know the height limits and whatnot, but I do think that this is a direction that would be beneficial, not only to investigate on the seismic side, the fire side, the safety side, but really for providing one of California's biggest problems, which is providing housing. If we could hit a home run on all those things, I think it's a great investment. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Commissioner Rabbit, I could address your question about, thank you for your comment. First of all, I could address your inquiry about the limitation on height. Our previous structure that I showed you was limited to 65 feet. At the time, codified prescriptions are linked a bit to combustibility of materials. So you'll see in the code prescriptions now that 65 feet remains as a height limitation for cold form steel as well, with little basis. It's simply we haven't tested anything beyond that. So that's why we've heard from our engineering community on the development of the CFS NERI demonstration building, and they'd like to push this to a 10-story building, which is much what cross-laminated timber, for example, rocking wall type structures, some of the timber elements are now approved to go to extend that height.
Very good. Thank you.
I think Commissioner Strack would like to go next.
Good morning, Dr. Hutchinson. Thank you for your great presentation. I guess this is the point where I get to say that I'm dating myself, because it seems like we've kind of been through this once before. What I do want to say is that the work that Dr. Hutchinson and her team did down there on the shake table, it's probably been 5 or 6 years now at least. And we did a lot of work with the fire following earthquake on that high-rise building that they shook. And got good data for the fire service push out, that this is an invaluable project and a huge next step. It's kind of interesting that we looked at these large wood structures being approved, and then lumber goes through the roof, so things are going to pivot again. And in the fire service, which I've commented on before, is there's always a challenge. Basically, we don't get to really test real life materials, with the exception of out in Maryland at NIOSH. But this puts it all together in one big piece, and combines two separate types of actions that we can also test fire-wise. So as someone who worked very closely with Dr. Hutchinson and her staff the last time we worked on this project, I wholeheartedly support this work and moving this forward again. So I just want to lay it out there that I'll make the motion to approve and begin to develop a contract to continue this work with UC San Diego. And hopefully we can be extremely involved with this, plus any of our fire suppression partners that are down in San Diego area that we need to help out or engage. Plus being under Cal OES, I think we have a whole nother set of partnerships we can begin to develop and work on. So I will make that motion. Thank you.
Sounds
Mike
good.
Gardner,
Okay, so motion was to basically develop the contract and proceed with the development contract with the UCSD. That's the motion. And Mr. Gardner, he seconded. Okay, let's keep going to discussions.
I think Commissioner Swice was next for questions.
Good morning. I missed part of the presentation because of bad connection in my office here. I apologize for that. I had to switch to my phone now. But I want to thank Professor Hutchinson for a great presentation. Some of the members of our commission visited the Shake Table a few years ago. Very, very impressed by the work you do. And as far as the comments regarding the prices of wood, going through the roof. Believe me, metal studs and cold form, steel is also catching up. Prices are going up as well, which is, but there is no doubt, that cold form steel is a much better product, for construction, for longevity, for so many reasons that you outlined. I also support this project. And I just I have a question, although maybe, it's beyond the limit of the scope of the presentation today. Are there other projects in the pipeline for the shake table in the future? So once this is completed and you publish the results and you're done with all the testing, so of course the first question is how can, would the materials be available for the industry, for the stakeholders, associations, suppliers, builders? And second, what's in the pipeline? Are there other projects coming up that you have lined up for the shake table? Because there is a project that I am very interested in seeing, maybe tested on this, which is related to the modular buildings. Modular business is growing. Many builders are now implementing, modular units to build multifamily hotels, etc.
Yeah.
And there is little data on that. So maybe in the future, and I'll be glad to help and, maybe bring some partners to contribute and participate in testing for modular units on the shake table.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Let me address your first. You had two comments or questions, Commissioner Swise. Let me address your first question was about will the materials from this program be available for design guides and practitioners and contractors, I believe, in general? And the answer to that is most definitely. That's always been close to my heart, actually. As Kit said, I worked as a practicing structural engineer as well. We're training, the future engineers that are going to go off and work with Kit and others. And so we hold that very close to our heart. So, and the way we're facilitating that is through a strong partnership right now with AISI. We worked with them to identify them as an umbrella organization, so that the materials, details, the construction methods in this project are actually generic. We're using steel sheet sheathed cold form steel repetitively framed walls, not proprietary systems. Now I didn't show you a floor plan of the test building. We do have one little region where we've identified kind of some real estate for some partners to put in or slot in their wall if they want to, or their frame. We're going to work with MyTech, for example. They've got a proprietary system, but it needs to be compatible with everything else in the system, because we want it to be generic for engineers to be able to go back to AISI S400 and know that tie rod detailing worked through these systems from floor to floor because of this implementation that was studied in this program. So absolutely, our aim is to try to disseminate these results immediately to practitioners. We try to facilitate or put a forcing function on ourselves as researchers by partnering with an organization like AISI, which is the the leadership in our community for design guides in this realm. Your second question was about modular construction. That's really a fantastic area. I concur. We've been approached by a number of modular construction companies, oftentimes wanting to test out their system. And for this reason or that, the timing just hasn't worked out. But I think we should be open to that. We have a unique shared use facility. One of the tricks, I should say, though, is that the shared use is facilitated via a National Science Foundation grant, a large $5 million grant that extends us for 5 years presently, and hopefully for another 5 years beyond 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. We're having the opportunity now to discuss the renewal. However, that said, the National Science Foundation looks for research-related new innovations. Transformative research is what they like, the community, what they want to invest in. And so if someone comes up with a proprietary or more product oriented solution. It may be well vetted and well developed, but the National Science Foundation will not put their investment in it. They will not put their tax money in it unless it's part of some of their special programs. So there's some caveats to it, but in general, as a researcher, I can't go and say I have this modular building. I know it's going to work extremely well in windborne regions, and I want to test its seismic. I want to help the community test its seismic resistance on our facility. I can't ask for that complementary funding. I'm just being fully transparent with you that there are some challenges in terms of collecting that partnership because of their strategic goals.
Thanks so much, Professor.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Commissioner Weiss.
Commissioner Maravelli.
Well, gratefully, everyone asked my questions. I first of all, I really appreciate the hard work and dedication that your team does, Professor Hutchinson, because I think this is phenomenal. I was able to visit the Shake Table years ago, and I know it's gone through a huge retrofit, and so that's exciting that you have new ways to test, which is wonderful. And so what I understood is, and this is was one of my questions, is the research that's being done. It doesn't necessarily, I guess, have to wait for a reference standard to come out to confirm that. It's actually what I'm hearing is through the design guides that information will be available. Okay, and then. When you spoke of other projects, and I actually really appreciate and understand now better that these are not proprietary projects, these are for research projects. But if a proprietary organization wanted to fund, I suppose that is something that the table would do, or no?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Sorry, I didn't fully answer the Commissioner Swice's comment there. He led me down the road of modular construction. I actually am really excited about the idea of modular construction, so I focus a bit more on that. But we do have an agreement as a part of being a national shared use facility for the natural hazards earthquake research. In NERI is the acronym that we are a part of. We receive the money from the National Science Foundation to maintain and operate our facility, only for those researchers that come in and perform research projects. However, we don't have to perform or facilitate support our operations 100% of the time on research projects. If someone has a 1 month project, so in other words, 1 month out of 12 months of a calendar year that they'd want to test something, we just have to make sure that we pay them appropriately out of funding that would come from the sponsor, the proprietary sponsor, if you like, or the industry sponsor, if you like. So it will cost, at full transparency, it will cost that industry sponsor more because they're performing so-called commercial project effectively, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I believe one of the other projects that you're slated to do this week, and I know you're not lead on it, is the CLT testing as well.
Right. Yeah, we spoke about that on Tuesday. Yeah, I could mention that the cross-laminated timber project is slated to begin in November, this fall, November. We have just prior to that, I think we spoke about that, but just to share that with the group, we have just prior to that a 3-story test building that will be tested for a month. It's actually intended to be, I think I may have mentioned it in our first discussion at your last meeting. It's intended to be a reconfigurable frame that someone could come in, a reconfigurable 3-dimensional frame that someone could come in later and test other types of systems. So test facades, so you can put one facade on one side, one facade on another side, look at different connections, look at different stair systems. It's actually got a perforated hole in the middle for different stair systems. So it's what we refer to as a modular test building. That's a very short duration project. And then the CLT project will come online until the CFS NERI group has, let's say, time on the table, and that is the fall of 2022 timeline. So there's 2 before us, and then after us, I know there's 1 project from the Lifelines utilities area.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Professor Marvelli, Commissioner Marvelli.
Next is Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you. I think, like Mia, most of my questions have been answered, but just a couple of comments. I think one of the really important things about the cold formed steel is that it is largely made of recycled material, and it is 100% recyclable. At the end of the life of the building, whether that is a result of earthquake damage or a fire, or they just want something else there, all that steel can be recycled. That is not true of wood. Wood is almost certainly going to go
to landfill.
To landfill,
Mm.
or at best to some sort of green waste mulching operation. But timber is difficult to use that way, and it's going to have nails and things in it that make it difficult to use in those kinds of applications. So the carbon footprint is dramatically different. I think the speed of repair of damage is likely to be higher with the CFS as opposed to wood. This will help document whether that's true or not. And one thing we didn't talk about at all is termites don't eat steel. And that is a real issue as buildings age. It's cost that's avoided, and ultimately, if not treated well, building integrity can be significantly affected by pest damage. And that's just something that CFS doesn't need to deal with. So I think this is a great experiment. It may inform modifications to the building and fire codes as time goes on. The agencies that adopt those codes can use the results of this test to see whether any upgrades or modifications of the codes are appropriate. This is a great thing, and I'm glad to be part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Gardner. There wasn't a question in there, but thank you very much for your comments.
No, you're free on questions.
But we spoke on earlier, so I attempted to address the comment of Commissioner Marvelli with my small little quote related to number of trees. I don't know if you saw, I added that to the slide deck just to get us thinking about the material transition there between timber, its competitor timber, and cold form steel.
We have one more question from Diane Gould.
Hi, thank you. I'm Diane Gould. I'm the principal structural engineer with the Division of State Architect and alternate to Commissioner Ida Clare. I'll try to keep it brief because I mirror many of the comments already raised by the commissioners. I think the work you're doing is fantastic, and we should definitely support this project. I too don't really have a question, but just more a comment I wanted to offer in regards to something that may or may not be able to be implemented in this project. I see, as you mentioned, it's the steel sheathed shear walls, so structural walls, but a point of interpretation that comes up quite recently or quite often on our DSA projects is how to handle the detailing and addressing the requirements for exterior non-structural walls of ASCE 7 section 13.5.3. There's language in there that talks about that the wall systems and their connections need to be able to accommodate the building drift, and that's just a continual topic of debate and discussion of how to implement it on these so-called, lighter frame walls. Everyone thinks of that usually as being applied to the heavier precast type connections, but the way the code and the provisions are written now, it applies to any exterior non-structural wall system. So I think adding the scope to do that analysis into what kind of damage occurs and if you repair it and how that performs, I think that would be great work towards that effort. But yeah, looking forward to continuing to work with you as you develop this project. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's actually a great comment, Commissioner Gould, because as you said, rightfully so, the detachment of that non-structural exterior wall with its structural component creates that kinematic issue there, and that leads to damage. And so, like I showed those images that we know from the structural side of the physical damage to the structural components and what's happening to the fastening, and if you're dealing with structural materials when it's adhered. And we can all think about it from the engineering perspective, impacting the response, but we can't address the impact of the damage because that's not effectively, that's the root of the damage. That's what's causing the damage, but it's also affected by the presence of these non-structural exterior finishes. So I'm happy we're having the opportunity in the CFS NERI project to address it, but the repair and retest actions is sort of low-hanging fruit for us in this. So that's why I think we reached this point of offering the proposal to the Commission to benefiting from that low-hanging fruit and taking it on. Yeah, thank you for that comment.
Chairman, we have one more, Commissioner Silva.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And like my fellow commissioners who work in local government, I'm very excited about the opportunity to find a better way to basically construct buildings, whether it's for housing or on the replacement of commercial buildings that are aging and functionally obsolete. Remind me, please, how big is the shake table in terms of dimensions? You look at the photo and I'm visualizing you're going to build the Campanile on the UC Berkeley campus, what am I looking at?
Yeah, the platen size is 25 feet by 40 feet. Thank you, Commissioner Silva, for that comment, that important comment. And the passage of time with the pandemic is going very quickly, so I'm forgetting that our discussion was several months ago with regard to the shake table characteristics and its upgrade and the like. So the platen size is 25 feet by 40 feet in plan dimension, and we will use entirely that real estate for our 3-dimensional building. We have a footprint already in mind there. We will move forward with likely 9-foot or 10-foot story heights. I glossed over, but in the first part of this project, we tested a number of wall line elements, wall line segments, which mimic what we're planning on putting in the building. We tested those in 2018 and 2019, and we have data from that on 9-foot story walls, spanning the dimension that we'd like to span. So you're correct. This will be a fairly slender building. You're very astute in that observation, as will be the CLT building. It is extremely slender if you look at the footprint of it. But a building is a building is a building, and building provisions allow us to design buildings of this nature. So it shouldn't preclude us. It just means that as structural engineers, we need to understand what the expected distribution and demand is on those buildings and design accordingly. We have a preliminary design already worked through for this geometry. Yeah, but you're very astute in pointing that out, that we will not be extending the footprint to accommodate a larger, it's envisioned to be a slice of a building. In fact, we have 3 different archetype buildings, which I could share with you. We looked at low, mid, and high rise, and let's say mid-rise of the upper size of 10 stories and 12 stories, and developed with some architects some archetype buildings. And we're extracting what we've argued about. I can tell you many healthy debates about what the representative footprint is or representative archetype is to characterize. Now, since we have 6 degrees of freedom of input, we can more readily look at corridor type behavior versus short wall behavior. So we're going to be incorporating that in the footprint as well to kind of accommodate what we would see in typical buildings in terms of their response.
Thank you for elaborating so much on my very simple, what I thought was
Sorry. Sorry, Commissioner Silva.
No, I mean, Tara, UCSC has a truly the world best shake table with the 6 degree of freedom system in there. It's just something that no one has, and this is something we have here in California, so we're so fortunate.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have it here. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Unbelievable.
We have another question, Commissioner Swice.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak again. But this is a question, from based on the comments and questions that I heard now. And this is related to the shake table. I agree with the Chair Miyamoto that it's, one of the best in the world. I think it's the second largest in the world. The first is in Japan.
In Japan, yeah, the e-defense facility.
So I remember from the visit a few years ago that the university was talking about enhancement and improvements to the engine that shakes the table to make it represent larger magnitudes. Was that done, or is it in the works, or what's the status of that project?
Oh, okay. So yes, Commissioner Swice, we're in the middle of an upgrade right now. Actually, the National Science Foundation funded us 2.5 years ago, and as well as a number of partners from the state are helping us facilitate the upgrade of this table to 6 degrees of freedom. The previous experiments have always been utilizing its unidirectional capability. So we have a pair of actuators previously that were pushing and pulling only along one axis. Now, if you look at the plan view, we've actually already, if you go online, you see we've actually already installed all of the new hydraulics and the new accumulation system, and the grand opening is slated to be October 15th. The platen top has been placed back on top, and there's a V-shape set of actuators actually below the table. I can go like that with my hands, a V-shape set of actuators, allowing it to have that bidirectional translational motion as well as rotation. And there are the previously dummy actuators, which were just helping elevate the system and carry the vertical load, are now active. So we've replaced the servo hydraulics there with active servo hydraulics. So the vertical actuators can also facilitate a roll and a pitch movement. So that's the new and exciting. I think in our last presentation, and you probably have those slides, but I know that presentation didn't go very well due to the team environment for me, unfortunately. But Tanya did a fantastic job facilitating those slides for me. And I did put some new capacity specifications in there. And if you're interested in those, I'm happy to share those again.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. Are there any further discussions or comments? Okay. Well, Professor Hutchinson, thank you so much. And I think your research, as I say, it's not research for research. You know, this is something that as a practicing engineers, as I am, I need that information. It's really critical to have an option to the public, and this is a solid step forward. So thanks so much for your contribution. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Tanya,
we still
yes.
need to take a vote.
Yes, of course. Tanya, could you read a motion, please?
Yes. Hold on a second. Let me grab that. Okay, so we have the motion to proceed with moving forward with the contract. And the first vote is Chairman Miyamoto.
Yes.
Vice Chair Silva.
Yes.
Okay. Representative Nestor Lopez for Ken Cooley.
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
Representative Lori Nazara for Commissioner Garaducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Maravilli.
Yes.
Commissioner Meneses.
Yes.
Commissioner Rabbit.
Aye.
Commissioner Strack.
Aye.
Commissioner Swice.
Big yes.
Commissioner Tran, who's absent today. Representative Diane Gould for Commissioner Clare.
Yes.
Commissioner Wong.
A definite yes.
That's unanimous vote.
Very good. So motion to pass to basically get the staff of CSS to work with a development contract with the Professor Hutchinson's UCSD group. Thank you very much. So next agenda, Tanya, I guess we're gonna back to the miscellaneous announcement. Is this correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then I believe I provided the budget update.
Yes.
And the next update that I did have was for our senior structural engineer recruitment. We're pretty much at the process where we just need to set up the interviews with the candidates that we've selected. We have great candidates. We're looking forward to setting those up in the upcoming weeks, and we will then provide you another update at the next meeting. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but that's all I have on that update for the structural engineer. And then
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll move to Richard to provide an additional.
Sorry, did you want to go ahead and get a date for November?
Oh, that was another item that we needed to discuss, I believe, at a previous meeting. We needed to select because our November meeting lands on Veterans Day. And so that's a state holiday. So we would need to select another date. I don't know, before or after, if everybody's open to going with that Thursday, the following Thursday. But I don't know if there's a consensus on a proposed date for the commission meeting.
So you're talking about either, so 11th is no good, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so it's Veterans Day, so it's a
Okay.
state holiday, and that lands right on that commission meeting date. So we have November 4th, which is the week before, which is the first Thursday of the month, or you have November 18th, which is the following Thursday.
I think my suggestion would be that maybe 4th would be better because of the week after, third week would be so close to Thanksgiving. So people may start taking off already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's no solid objections, is that November 4th is good?
Okay, that works. We'll set it for November 4th.
All right. Yes. Yes, Commissioner West.
Yes, as we, of course, we all heard about the, opening up the state and, the fact that the pandemic is subsiding and, people will be returning to normal life, before the end of the year. I'd like to suggest that maybe the September or November meeting to be in person rather than virtual. It's time maybe for all of us together, if the restrictions that will allow us to do that.
Yeah, we have to see. I think that we have to basically follow what the state of California, requirements and mandate. So based on that, we'll definitely do communicate with you all. Makes sense to me. I haven't seen you for a long time. Well, only virtual. Okay. Miscellaneous announcement. Any other discussions?
All right. This is Selena. Do you want to give a briefing on any legislation?
Sure. So just a few items I'd like to highlight. Going back to, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, Commissioner Swice had suggested that we make all presentations available on our SSC website. And if you guys recall, we were discussing that there are certain state website accessibilities that need to happen before we place stuff on our website. But I would like to update you that Mike, our program analyst, has completed the website accessibility training. So now we can go ahead and upload presentations onto our website. What we've been telling presenters that if they are going to present materials that are like PowerPoint or any type of slides, that they initially have to be responsible to make sure that their document is that has the accessibility. It's unrealistic to have a staff change content to make it website accessibility. However, Mike has been working with those presenters that are having issues with that. But it looks, things are going really good with uploading those onto our website. Also, Mike has finished training for to manage the content on our website. If you guys remember, previously we would have a third party manage our content on our website. So whether it's uploading our agenda or changing out commissioner information, adding publications, we would always have to do that through a third party. And now Mike just does everything in-house, which is super awesome, super amazing, because we don't have to rely on other folks to upload our content. So that's something that he was able to do under OES through their training. So that's been good. Also, our 2020 summary report has been approved. It's now on our website, and as you guys recall, this report is a comprehensive report of all of our activities throughout the previous year. So on to legislation. So just so you know, the bills that I'm going to speak to, these are not formal bills that I've been assigned to follow. The bills that I've selected are bills that are of interest to the commission and those that have areas of expertise on these bills. The first bill is SB 109. It's Senator Dodd's bill, the Office of Emergency Services, Office of Wildfire Technology Research and Development. This bill would establish the Office of Wildfire Technology Research and Development within the Office of Cal OES under the Director of Cal OES. This bill would make the office responsible for studying, testing, and advising regarding procurement of emerging technologies and tools in order to more effectively prevent and suppress wildfires, and serving as a central organizing hub for the state government's identification of emerging wildfire technologies. Currently, this bill is in a Senate approps. It was placed on the suspense file due to the fiscal impact of the legislation. The second bill is another Dodd bill. It's SB 440. It's the Earthquake and Wildfire Loss Mitigation. This bill is, Earthquake and Wildfire Loss Mitigation authorizes the California Earthquake Authority to invest CEA reserve funds in a new joint powers authority for hardening homes in high wildfire threat zones and increases funds for retrofitting homes in high hazard earthquake zones. In exchange for these investments, the CEA would be granted the authority to assess personal property insurance policies up to 2% of the policy premium, contingent on the occurrence of an earthquake event that exceeds all other CEA claims paying capacity. Such an event has a risk of occurring between 1 in 200 and 1 in 400 in any given year. This bill it's in the Senate. It was pulled from committee. This is a bill that I believe that has been introduced in previous legislative sessions. There's been a lot of robust conversation around this bill. I believe that we will possibly hear a hearing on this topic during the interim. I've reached out to the author's office. They haven't said exactly what they're going to do with the bill, but I think it's going to be an interim hearing. We've also engaged Commissioner Tran on this bill, just to, given his expertise.
It's going down. It's not
Okay.
here.
So,
Can't hear. بس ممكن نحصل أكتر.
And if you cannot mute that.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, we've engaged Commissioner Tran to kind of help digest this bill and what it means for the insurance industry, but I'm just watching it right now. The final bill is AB 1329 Nazarian. This bill is Nazarian's Building Codes, Earthquakes, and Functional Recovery Standard. This bill would require the Building Standards Commission to develop, adopt, and publish building standards that would require new construction of buildings, except for buildings regulated by the Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development or the Division of the State Architect, to be designed and built to a functional recovery standard for earthquakes. This bill is located in the Assembly Approps, and it was placed on the suspense file yesterday. As I mentioned, these are informal watches. I'll continue to watch them as they move through the legislature, but I'm going to be deferring any specific positioning of these bills to the Cal OES Legislative Office. Currently, Cal OES is watching 64 bills that have been introduced. And again, we're working in collaboration with their ledge unit regarding all legislation that may be of interest or impact the commission or any other stakeholder entities. So yeah, that's my my little spiel. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
Selena, what's the suspended means anyway? So it's built.
Oh yeah, so the suspense file is a file. So if a piece of legislation exceeds a certain amount of threshold amount that Department of Finance has projected it would cost the state, it goes on the suspense file. This year, I don't know, I should inquire, but not off the top of my head, I don't know what that threshold amount is. Sometimes it's like $50,000 or $500,000. It just depends. But all of those, the two bills that the Dodd bill, the 109 and the Nazarian bill had reached that threshold. So next week, I believe it's scheduled appropriations will, they will then vote on all of the bills that are on the suspense file.
I see.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I think Commissioner Wong has
Yes.
comments.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Selena. Have you been informally following AB 1464, the hospital seismic safety bill?
No, but I will put that on my list. 1464.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Oh, and if you guys, and if any commissioners have bills that, have come through their offices and they want me to bird dog them, send them to me, email them to me, and I'll put them on my list. And I do share my list with OES's legislative unit, so they know what we're tracking as well. So if there's something of interest.
Very well. Thank you. Executive Director McCarthy, any other announcements?
Yeah, just a few items, Mr. Chairman. So staff and working with the Cal OES Executive Office, we've got those invitations out for the AB 100 requirements. Then so who will be appearing before you on September 9th will be Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development, and the California Geological Survey will be the first two units to come before you. And to refresh your memory, they're going to present 5 to 10 page descriptions of their seismic programs. The overall intent of the AB 100 was for the commission to be kind of a clearinghouse, information clearinghouse, to describe the incredible outreach that the state of California has done, in its efforts for reducing seismic risk and speeding recovery. So Selena and I had 2 good meetings so far, and Tanya with them, and so they're very engaged, and they'll be presenting a draft document to you at the September 9th meeting with a formal presentation. And then that, after if you accept that, and we modify it, whatever it may be, that will go on the commission's website. All right, and so your plan is probably 2 or 3 a year or more, depending on the scheduling. And so we have about 10 in the bill, but you can also review others as needed. The legislation allows you for that. Allows us to do that. We're still in the office, basically. We're coming in here, since March of 2020. We went home. We're still telecommuting. 2 of us, Mike and I, come down to the office twice a week because it's critical. You can't just walk away from this building. We're in a leased building, if you remember. And at some point, we're the only cars in the parking lot here. So if there's a break-in, there's a problem, we want to make sure that we're here to identify it right away.
All right.
So anyway, there's more cars coming back here in the parking lot now. The more life's coming back into the building here as restrictions are being lifted. So that's really good news for us. And then finally, talk about the reappointments issue, if I could. So when we moved over into Cal OES, so we don't contact with the appointments office unless asked. So, I want you, I know that 4 of you are up for your terms expire on the 15th. And if you, I don't know if you've been contacted by the governor's office at all yet, but if you're interested in reapplying to the commission, please do that. I wouldn't wait, but please do that. They're supposed to be contacting you. And then 2 commissioners will rotate off because the positions have been, it's Commissioner Meneses and Commissioner Wong, and I want to thank them for, remember, we reduced from 20 to 15. Those 2 positions were destined to put on committees for the commission. Department of Finance wanted us to work following some of the other commissions to establish committees when we have a particular problem to solve. So I want to, it's been an honor to work with Commissioner Wong and Commissioner Meneses on this. It's been great. They've been invaluable in their contribution. And certainly I'd like to know at some point the intent of 4 that are not up. I see Commissioner Strack, Commissioner Rabbit, Commissioner Gardner, and Commissioner Silva are up also now. Their time expires on the 15th. So any questions?
Commissioner Gardner had a question.
Yeah, more just a bit of information on that. If you are applying for reappointment, it's an online process. It is not super user friendly. I managed to get it to eat my data twice before I got it submitted. And it will reformat some things in the final, especially in the, it's a kind of a community involvement section where they ask for other things that you're active in. And it totally reformatted that on mine. I had put it in line by line without punctuation, and then a space and then another area. It put that all together in a single paragraph with no punctuation. So just be aware of that. I had my interview on Tuesday with the appointment staff. Mine was a pretty standard interview. Tell us about yourself. Why do you want to be reappointed? What do you think the most important things that the commission is doing are? And is there anything about you that, if it came out, would embarrass the governor? Probably 20-minute interview. So I know that Tim's got one coming up this afternoon, and I don't know about other members, but I hope that's helpful to any of you who are applying and aren't as far along in the process as yet.
I think there's another question from Commissioner Strack.
Well, not really a question. I was just going to give everybody a heads up. I have a meeting this afternoon with the appointments office. So we'll see how it goes.
Wear the uniform.
I got everything turned in, so I made it through that part anyway.
Good job, Tim.
I think Commissioner Silva has her hand raised.
Oh, you're on mute.
Can't hear you. Unmute.
I survived the interview last week.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that means, but I was still alive at the end of the 30 minutes. So
very well.
And just to add on to that, I actually have a meeting set up with them tomorrow. So I'll get more of an update on the status of where we're at on everything. So hopefully we'll have something finalized here shortly.
If I might add, one of the issues historically is after the 15th deadline, it's been, we're looking for Tanya to get clarification on, is that if you haven't heard from the appointments office, historically it's been a 60-day grace period after the 15th of May to July 15th. So you can serve until that time period. But I want to make sure that that's still the case.
Yeah, and I believe my earlier discussions with them, there was a little changing of hands. My point of contact, she went on maternity leave, so I got kind of bounced back. So I've been having to kind of follow up with them on a regular basis just to see where we're at in the process. My understanding was that the reappointments wasn't a priority at the beginning of the year as it normally was, because I believe when I came on to the commission in February of last year, you guys were already in the process and everyone was being voted on the Senate floor. So, you know, moving forward, I don't know if that's obviously changing. And so hopefully we'll get something more finite, and I'm actually ensuring that that process is something that we have within our office for retention and for future, you know, cross-training purposes.
I think Commissioner Rabbit, you have comments.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, since I'm also up, I was contacted by the governor's office. I do plan to put my application in. I also plan to get my taxes done by the 15th as well. So
double duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could tell you this week is hell. We had a 12-hour Board of Supervisors meeting, and then we had a meeting at MTC that actually had a street protest. So that was fun. And away we go. So I am planning to put it in there, and hopefully we'll be reappointed. Look forward to working with you all, continuing.
Well, Commissioner Rabbit, it sounds like there is no earthquake this week quite yet. So little break there for you. Any other questions or comments? If so, I like to say that Commissioner Wong and Commissioner Meneses, I mean, we really appreciate your years of the contribution to the this commission and state of California. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to serve.
Yeah,
thank you, Kit.
Thank you. We'll see you. I'm sure we'll be. Okay. I think next agenda is a public comments, right, Tanya? And
correct.
I believe there is a SEOC representative.
Yes.
Yep.
Ryan Kirstein.
Yes. Is he on the call? Ryan, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Excellent.
Chairman?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. I know this is not an agenda item, just public comment. So wanted to share a few updates from SEOC for those who may or may not remember me. I visited with the commission a few times, but I admit I have missed the last few meetings, so I apologize for that. I'm Ryan Kirstein. I'm a practicing structural engineer here in Sacramento. I represent the policy committee of the Structural Engineers Association of California. I also serve on the board of directors for the National Council of Structural Engineers Associations and of the Applied Technology Council. I had two topics I just wanted to highlight for the commission today, and I'd be willing to have follow-up conversations or maybe even a formal presentation at a future meeting if that could be fit into the agenda. Okay. Of note, I would just make sure that the commission is aware of the FEMA NIST report to Congress on improving the post-earthquake reoccupancy and recovery times of our built environment. This is the culmination of a few years of effort. It was charged to FEMA and NIST in the 2018 reauthorization of the National Earthquake Hazard Reduction Program at the federal level. They were charged with convening a committee of experts to assess and recommend options for improving the built environment in terms of post-earthquake reoccupancy and recovery time. We know our building codes do a great job of keeping our new buildings safe, but studies conducted by FEMA and NIST indicate that new buildings may be subject to significant downtime following design level earthquakes. On the order of 6 months to even over a year for many regular occupancies. So the federal government has prioritized looking at improving recovery time now that we have the safety part of things kind of handled for the new building code, but we now need to be looking at recovery time and repair costs and that sort of thing from the federal level. The report comes up with 7 primary recommendations, one of which is the kind of the core to everything is discovering and developing what we call a functional recovery framework. This is asking the question about which buildings do we need to be recovered in what sort of time frame after an earthquake. Not all buildings need to be recovered right away, but some are more critical than others to recovery. Our current building codes look at essential service buildings and talk about the immediate need for those in the emergency response phase. But we should be also looking at buildings that are critical to the recovery in the short term, intermediate term, and long term phases as well. And then the follow up to that is what design criteria should we use to achieve that recovery time? So that's the core recommendation. We have 3 other recommendations that talk about designing new buildings for recovery, retrofitting existing buildings for recovery, designing and retrofitting lifeline infrastructure systems for recovery. And then we have 3 other topics that are recommendations are related more to the planning and human aspects of things. We have recommendations regarding pre-disaster recovery planning. We have recommendations regarding mounting education and outreach campaigns, and recommendations about access to financial resources, both pre and post earthquake. The report also directs Congress or suggests specific steps that Congress can take, and also suggests specific steps that state and local jurisdictions can take. In particular, it recommends that state and local jurisdictions start thinking about how to improve recovery by looking at their building codes and what could be implemented in the building code today to get better recovery times from our new buildings. So with that as kind of the prelude, that topic is something that I could certainly elaborate on more. I've given Director McCarthy and Selena copies of the link to where the report could be found. That could be circulated to the commissioners if needed. The other thing I just wanted to update, and following on Selena's comments on the legislative report, AB 1329 is something that SEOC has been sponsoring and working with Assemblyman Nazarian for a number of years on this topic. We've been reaching out to different stakeholders and affected agencies at the state and local level. You know, it really does try to look at ways we can simply and practically implement better recovery time provisions within our building code as we see them now. This isn't meant to be developing a brand new code or a brand new standard. It's meant to look at what sort of provisions we can use that are in our building code right now and whether we should be applying them to more buildings than we are today. For example, could we use risk category 4 for more buildings than we do right now and get better recovery time from new buildings? With that, I can certainly elaborate, and I know this is not a Q&A session, but I can elaborate. I want to respect everyone's time. I can elaborate if there's a need. I would just mention 2 other bills. Selena, maybe you want to follow AB 1569. It came from the Committee on Emergency Management, which Assemblymember Rodriguez is the chair of. It's related to OES, but it talks about hazard mitigation grant program. And then also AB 934. It's from Assemblymember Cooley, Commissioner Cooley. It's regarding researching shelter-in-place guidelines for state-owned buildings. And while it's not specific to seismic, it at least talks about seismic as one of the reasons you might need to be sheltering in place in a building. So with that, I think those are my public comments. Thanks for the time.
Thanks so much, Ryan. SEOC has been a great partner with with our commission for many, many years, and we really appreciate your information you bringing up and the collaboration. Any questions or comments to Ryan? All right, thanks so much, Ryan. Any other public comments? Do you know, Tanya? No?
None. None I've received.
Okay, thanks so much. Dick, you have anything?
No, I'm done.
You're cool. Okay. Any commissioners? Last chance here. Okay. If there's no objections, I would like to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
So so Richard, next meeting is July?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Very good then. So see you in July, everyone.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Have a good day.